The Israeli government is just days away from dismantling Gaza's humanitarian system and controlling reconstruction if it can ban UNRWA. We are here to tell Winston Peters and MFAT that they must act before that happens. What is UNRWA in Gaza? It's called parastatal. It has government-like responsibility for refugees. Refugees are 2/3 of Gaza's population. UNRWA registers each group and the rights which they hope they have fulfilled. UNRWA provides education, health, housing, social welfare, rubbish collection, state-like responsibilities until there is a Palestinian state able to care for its own citizens. UNRWA does that in our name. In times of emergency, UNRWA assists everyone that it can reach, refugee or not. What makes UNRWA indispensable in emergencies? Is it because UNRWA is Gaza's largest employer? Or is it because UNRWA owns by far the largest network of trucks, warehouses, distribution points, and shelters? Israel says you can give those assets to NGOs and they'll do the work. But UNRWA is not essential because it owns trucks. It owns trucks because UNRWA has been built on the human knowledge to anchor Gaza's humanitarian system. UNRWA is made to get goods in through a blockade that was made to keep goods out. UNRWA's distribution points are the places where food reaches neighborhoods. Israel is claiming that donor states will be able to contract, hire, procure, deliver, navigate that deadly blockade, and distribute food to every neighborhood of Gaza in the middle of a man-made famine without communications or buildings or records. That is a formula for ongoing genocide, nothing less. States like ours must refuse to let more people die avoidably. Israel also wants to erase UNRWA's mandate. The United Nations states assigned UNRWA to serve Palestinians as members of a single nation and to remain until their rights are fulfilled. Now, Palestinians know, you know and I know, that refugees are members of a single nation, but UNRWA is the United Nations demonstration of its member states' commitment to a real political solution. UNRWA is the face of our obligations. Donors to UNRWA are recognizing political cause and political solution. NGOs can't do that. They would assist Palestinians as depoliticized individuals with humanitarian needs. They would sign time-limited contracts to provide product X to location Y. On December 9th, Israel introduced new regulations for NGOs, requiring them to comply with Israel's defense and policy interests. Israel will refuse or deregister organizations which, for example, deny that Israel is democratic or which call for boycotts. They will deregister any organization whose staff, political partners, or board members have used that language in the past 7 years. This regulation is already in place. If you feel critical of NGO language, this is part of the reason. Israel has just regulated the end of advocacy and human rights speech in occupied Palestine. We said nothing. Investigators for the International Criminal Court, what do you think? Israel is bound by law to facilitate humanitarian aid to the people of occupied Gaza. It is not up to Israel to control, to buy and sell access, survival, shelter, or advocacy for Palestinians. States sign agreements when they join the United Nations. Will UNRWA sit back while Israel shreds those? States like ours failed to stop this slaughter for 470 days. Will we stand back and let Israel dictate the next 470 days? We are here to say we must not fail Gaza a second time. Thank you. Other states' slow response to the enormous task of reconstruction. Where else should they go to send a message to us? Gaza has no embassies. UNRWA is the face of states' commitments behind that illegal blockade. Gazan Palestinians live at the sharpest edge of Palestinian suffering, and UNRWA is the proof that our government has not forgotten. UNRWA's services and life-saving supplies are delivered in our name. Governments had the power and failed to use it to stop 470 days of genocide. It is unthinkable that we, our government, will let Israel erase the proof of our commitment now, after 15 months of this nightmare. If UNRWA is banned, food, water, fuel, medicines, shelter, all the immediate essentials of survival will not arrive as they could arrive. It's that simple. If this ceasefire does take hold and lays bare the extent of Israel's devastation, UNRWA will be essential. It's the middle of winter. 90% of Gaza's housing is ruined. 90% of Gaza's people are homeless. They need warm shelter now. Half of Gaza's trees and agricultural land are gone. 2/3 of its water reservoirs are gone. Universities, hospitals, gone. 95% of its schools have been blown up, and every child has had their education disrupted. 40 million tons of debris need to be sifted for the remains of the missing and for explosives. UNRWA anchors every one of those tasks. Israel is saying it will permit a private Egyptian company to bring reconstruction materials into Gaza. Remember the privatized exit visas? $5,000 American to get every human being through the gates of Rafah. What do you think they're going to charge for concrete? To whom will they sell it? That is Israel's vision. We must not sit back and let Israel contract out and control reconstruction. UNRWA anchors that terribly compromised process with the refugee community at the center of its plans. We must not let Israel pull all that apart. Israel will also take control of UNRWA's headquarters and facilities in occupied East Jerusalem. Already, mobs have set fire to the perimeter of the headquarters repeatedly with people in the buildings. It has been reported that Israeli authorities will seize the buildings, turn them over to settlers, and establish one more instant illegal settlement in occupied East Jerusalem. Palestinian students will be transferred from UNRWA schools to Israeli schools in defiance of the rights of an occupied people. The International Court of Justice has ruled this occupation is illegal and we must bring it to an end. Instead, Israel will unilaterally push the United Nations out of occupied East Jerusalem. And occupied East Jerusalem controls the access to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Israel's intended actions have massive consequences. UNRWA is our face in Gaza. We must not withdraw. We must not let Israel dictate Gaza's survival and its prospects. After 76 years of illegal occupation, after 17 years of illegal blockade, after 470 days of genocidal violence, after all the words that our politicians have spoken, we need action this week. Winston Peters, MFAT, you failed to act on genocide. You must not fail in our names again.
Thank you, Marilyn.